Nature's sweet tomatoes. They taste homegrown because they ripen on the vine.
The celebrity concert party and Clint Black with the troops next, BT.
A few more anthrax cases and traces, including some now found in a remote facility that screens White House mail. More U.S. postal workers may be infected, and the government is under fire for a slow and selective response. Eye on America. Scientists may be well along the road to a cure for anthrax. New evidence the 9/11 terror plot was hatched in Germany. And 2 suspected terrorists are captured near U.S. troops in Pakistan. Were they planning another attack?
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. Concern is growing about anthrax and what the government is and is not doing about it. The potentially deadly bacterium has now shown up in a remote Mayo facility that screens mail destined for the President of the United States. Mailroom workers at that military facility and at the White House itself are being tested for anthrax exposure. In addition, it has now been confirmed that 2 Washington area postal employees died of inhaled anthrax. At least 2 others are now ill with it. And there are about 12 suspected cases in the D.C. area. We begin our coverage tonight at the White House with CBS's John Roberts. Good evening, John.
Dan, it was only a trace amount of anthrax that was found in a machine that opens White House mail at a secure military facility. But it was enough to elevate the bioterrorism threat to the highest levels.
Well, there's no question that evildoers are continuing to try to harm America and Americans.
Officials say no one at either the base or the White House mailroom has shown symptoms. And sources tell CBS News that because letters addressed to the White House go through the same Washington postal station that handles congressional mail, the anthrax may have arrived on a contaminated envelope. That postal station remained closed today after confirmation that 2 workers there died from the inhaled form of anthrax. Health officials today ordered testing on all postal employees in the region and came under sharp criticism for dragging their feet.
They immediately shut down the House or the Senate. They immediately shut that down and told the workers, not to come back for a couple of 3 days. The postal employees were never told not to come back, to my knowledge.
At a congressional hearing, Health Secretary Tommy Thompson as much as admitted the government dropped the ball and declared procedures will change immediately.
When a case of anthrax does emerge, we will immediately move in at any and all postal facilities that might have handled that piece of mail.
The Brentwood cases also expose a huge hole in the public health system. One of the victims checked into the emergency room of this Maryland hospital early Sunday morning. After x-rays and blood tests, doctors diagnosed the flu and sent him home. He came back a day later in an ambulance and died within 6 hours. Public health expert Stephen Rotman says officials are playing catch-up with the threat.
I don't think that we were adequately prepared to deal with a threat like this. I think the dimensions of it and I think some of the subtleties of it were not appreciated in the planning phase.
Officials today identified another suspected case of inhaled anthrax at an employee at the Trenton, New Jersey sorting station where the anthrax letters were originally mailed from. Officials in Baltimore today said they also have a suspected case. And congressional leaders are so concerned about the safety of mail that is piled up on Capitol Hill, they say they may simply end up burning all of it. Dan?
John Roberts reporting live from the White House. Police officers, firefighters, the U.S. military, all expect to put their lives on the line every day. It's part of their job, but not postal workers. That has all changed now, as CBS's Wyatt Andrews reports.
They are the letter carriers, the stamp clerks, and the handlers of the post office, all suddenly facing the horror of being in the crosshairs of this war. 2 of their number are dead. Several are in the hospital. Out of nowhere, the post office is the new front line.
Did you expect to be in this war and for your colleagues to die in this war?
No, not in a million years.
It's a little scary, and the whole thing. I mean, you think you're giving a good service. You think you're giving a good service, but here you're being targeted as a weapon.
Another example of how this terrorism really knows no place, race, class, income, religious, or other lines or distinctions. It's really striking everyone.
By the thousands, postal workers were bused today to hospitals in Washington and New Jersey. Some were screened for testing. All received antibiotics. These postal workers are unwitting draftees in this new war on terrorism. Like soldiers lined up for an inoculation, these workers are in line for a supply of Cipro.
But we were given pills to take.
And every letter carrier we spoke with here, even those who resented the delay in protection, called it their duty to show up for the next shift.
Overall, I just do my job and go on. I don't worry about it.
And we cannot let, if you want to say terrorists, which I don't believe, whatever, frighten us out of our jobs.
In other wars, they've been the messengers, bringing soldiers and families together. In this war, without warning, they've handled the ammunition. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Washington.
The FBI today released the text of anthrax-laced letters sent through the U.S. mail. They are all similar in content. For instance, the one addressed to Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle says, quote, "You cannot stop us. We have this anthrax. You die now. Are you afraid? Death to America. Death to Israel. Allah is great." Against this backdrop, limited access to mail from constituents may be the least of the problems facing members of Congress, as CBS's Bob Schieffer reports.
The barricaded Capitol itself was open and pronounced safe, but all 6 congressional office buildings are closed as technicians continue to check for anthrax, a process that could take weeks. Officials say the Hart building, where the letter containing anthrax was found, may have to be sealed and sprayed with a decontamination gas before it is safe. With no offices, thousands of congressional staffers were spread across town. Some were bused to workspace at the General Accounting Office, others to a post office museum. Still others went to Republican and Democratic campaign offices. If the Capitol itself has to be closed, the House will hold its sessions at nearby Fort McNair. The Senate will meet at a downtown hotel. In the meantime, one congressional hearing was held at the office of Health and Human Services Secretary Tommy Thompson. Senate staffers crammed into tiny closet-like spaces in the Capitol. One congressman set up shop on the lawn. A Senate committee met in the basement.
Know that we are in the tombs of the Capitol.
The anthrax found here and now the anthrax deaths of postal workers who had been told their workspace was safe has caused everyone here to think differently.
Well, we would be foolish not to treat all mail in the future as if we could experience another attack of some kind.
Daschle says no congressional mail has been opened since he received that letter with anthrax. And here is the reason why. The FBI has determined that the anthrax in that letter was so potent and so fast-moving that one person who tested positive for exposure to it was not only outside the room, but was in a hallway 20 yards away. In any case, after a day of testing, one congressional office building has been declared safe, and it will open tomorrow. Dan.
On Capitol Hill, Bob Schieffer. Later here on CBS, Eye on America will report to you about the work scientists are doing right now that could soon lead to a cure for anthrax. But they're turning now to the broader mass murders investigation. There are new arrests today in Europe, including Germany. Police there found a guide to Islamic holy war and a biological warfare suit in the luggage of a man waiting for a flight to Iran. And as CBS's Jim Stewart reports, there's new evidence the September 11th attack on America was planned on German soil.
The Germans arrived in force at the FBI today. They came armed with the most persuasive evidence to date that last month's attacks were planned by a nucleus group consisting of 3 of the now dead hijackers plus 3 other men still on the loose, and that it all started in the port city of Hamburg.
It is clear that Hamburg served as a central base of operations for these 6 individuals and their part in the planning of the September 11th attacks.
Within hours of the World Trade Center and Pentagon attacks, German intelligence officers overheard Osama bin Laden supporters celebrating the massive loss of life. Their investigation has since spread to include much of Hamburg's estimated 2,400 Islamic extremists.
I couldn't exclude that there is some parts of the network still working or still living in Germany.
It all traces back, the Germans say, to these 6 men. 3 of them, including ringleader Mohammed Atta, died September the 11th, but 3 others, including Zakaria Asabar, who tried to enter the U.S. as a student pilot and failed, all disappeared from Germany just before the attacks. At times, the 6 lived together in this apartment and studied at this Hamburg university beginning in 1999 when authorities say planning for the attack started. And German officials admit they totally escaped detection.
Mr. Atta was registered with 3 different identities in our aliens register, and nobody discovered it.
German officials correctly point out that they're not alone in the blame game. Al-Qaeda terrorists also freely roamed Great Britain, Spain, Italy, and the United States in the months before the attack and appear to have never once aroused serious suspicion. Dan?
Jim Stewart. The Defense Department disclosed today that 2 U.S. military helicopters were fired on last weekend in Pakistan, apparently by Muslim militants. It said there were no U.S. casualties, but it's worrisome for American commanders. And as CBS's Alan Pizzi reports from Quetta, Pakistan, there's evidence they have good reason for concern.
Protesters chanting "Osama is our hero" and "U.S. stop atrocities in Afghanistan" tried to storm an airbase being used by American troops in Pakistan today. But there was a potentially more dangerous situation at another facility. 2 alleged members of Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda network are being held in this Pakistani military prison on suspicion of planning terrorist activities at another airstrip used by American forces here. Authorities name them as Karama Khamiz, who is carrying a Yemeni passport, and Abdullah Saeed Manesh, believed to be from Saudi Arabia. Pakistan intelligence sources said the 2 were caught at Dalbandin Air Base, inside the main security perimeter. It is thought they slipped in from Afghanistan about 50 miles away. The possibility that bin Laden's network may be turning its attention to facilities used by American forces here is another example of the pressures building on both Pakistan and the U.S. for a quick end to the bombing. Pakistan's military government can control the demonstrations, but some here warn that too heavy a clampdown could drive the opposition into violent underground activity. And in fact, at a secret meeting tonight, the main Islamic parties decided to attempt to surround all 4 bases being used by U.S. forces. More security nightmares for Pakistan and its American guests. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Quetta.
Just across the border in Afghanistan, U.S. combat aircraft were in the skies again on this 17th day of Operation Enduring Freedom. As CBS News national security correspondent David Martin reports, Osama bin Laden's terrorist followers appear to have gone underground, leaving some Taliban troops to pay what the U.S. military calls a heavy price.
The grisliest evidence of what the airstrikes are accomplishing shows what appears to have been an attack on a Taliban fuel convoy. But the most revealing evidence about the effects the bombing is having on Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda network came from the British Defense Minister.
We believe that 9 al-Qaeda camps were occupied before the start of the military operation. I can now tell you that we have successfully put all of these camps out of action.
That, of course, doesn't mean the terrorists themselves are out of action. They're probably hiding underground.
Well, caves are clearly in target sets, and because that's where al-Qaeda has traditionally hidden. The numbers, I don't think, are known to anyone on this earth. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of caves.
Taliban troops are easier to find, and U.S. jets are attacking their positions in northern Afghanistan. With their communications and air defenses in ruin, the Taliban can put up very little resistance. Their chief weapon seems to be pictures they say are innocent civilians killed or injured by the bombing. The Pentagon acknowledges there have been a few instances of bombs hitting civilians.
At 11:24 on Saturday, a U.S. Navy F-14 missed its intended target and inadvertently dropped 2 500-pound bombs in a residential area northwest of Kabul.
The Pentagon also acknowledged that these helicopter parts shown off by the Taliban did come from Friday's commando raid when an American helicopter hit its landing gear on a wall.
The damage couldn't have come as much comfort to the Taliban since it happened as the helicopter was lifting off just after American commandos had finished ransacking the bunker of the Taliban leader, Mullah Omar. Dan?
David Martin live tonight at the Pentagon. Next year on the CBS Evening News, Eye on America, scientists who are hunting down anthrax and working on a cure.
Pete Sampras knows about One-A-Day's new active multivitamin with more B vitamins and ginseng to enhance energy. One-A-Day. Get active, stay active.
What's for lunch?
Chicken and stars.
Condensed soup? We're not feeding the kids anymore. There's a better tasting soup. Progresso chicken noodle has all white meat chicken and bigger vegetables. See the difference?
Much better.
It's time to go to the better taste of Progresso.
You'd try anything to get some relief from your nasal allergy symptoms. But before you change your life, make an easier change. Multi-symptom Flonase relieves all these nasal allergy symptoms: sneezing, itchy, runny nose, and congestion. Flonase once a day relieves them all day and night. For best results, use daily. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, nosebleed, or sore throat. Ask your doctor about multi-symptom Flonase. When you get it all it takes is Flonase.
This Halloween, find fun somewhere new. Pillsbury Halloween cookies. With Linus's great pumpkin and chocolate ghosts. Just slice, bake, and eat before Halloween vanishes.
My heart to yours, Pillsbury.
Wonder what's going on in your local public schools? Take a look.
Teachers, parents, and support professionals are working together to make learning come alive. Teachers inspire our kids to reach new heights, whether it's helping students master the alphabet or explore new worlds on the computer. Our teachers are leading the way. Today, more than ever, we need public schools that work for every child and to teach the values that make America strong.
Dear Aleve, back pain made it tough to get out of bed, and every pain reliever I tried quit too soon. Then my daughter told me about Aleve.
Aleve can stop pain all day with just 2 pills. That would take 8 Tylenol.
I wanted everyone to see just how grateful I am. Thanks, Aleve.
Tonight's Eye on America takes you to the hidden front lines of the war on anthrax. These special operations are not conducted with night vision goggles, but under the microscope. CBS News medical correspondent Elizabeth Caledon reports on scientists hunting down anthrax strains and working on a cure.
Just like human beings, the Bacillus anthracis bacteria is a species that comes in many shapes and sizes, known as strains.
You can detect differences between individual bacteria, just as in people there are differences in hair color or eye color.
And just like human beings, anthrax leaves fingerprints. In the nation's top government labs like Los Alamos, scientific sleuths have on record the DNA or genetic fingerprints of more than 1,000 different anthrax strains. They are crucial to the investigation.
They really know how to dissect them genetically and sort through them and figure out where they fit.
The DNA of anthrax found in Florida, Washington, and New York tells investigators it is not genetically engineered, but a naturally occurring domestic strain, one they've seen before. That's good news because the strain is susceptible to all the available antibiotics in the early stages. But as in the recent cases in Washington, D.C., once anthrax reaches late stages, no matter what the strain, it becomes deadly. That's why the work Professor Rodney Tweeten is doing in his Oklahoma City lab may be so important. Professor Tweeten and his colleagues have figured out a way to mass produce a mutant anthrax toxin that, when combined with the regular bacteria, destroys it.
Essentially, we're engineering the anthrax toxin to be different, to no longer function.
One thing the different anthrax strains do have in common is the way they kill people. Disabling that function could eventually mean the bacteria itself would be rendered a useless weapon.
It should be effective on all strains of anthrax that produce the toxin, and all strains do produce the toxin.
The development is still several years away from human use, but Professor Tweeten recently received a grant to speed up the process. In the war on anthrax, time is clearly of the essence. For Eye on America, I'm Elizabeth Caledon in New York.
The U.S. airline industry put out new numbers today showing the financial fallout of the September 11th terror attacks. In the week since the attacks, passenger traffic is down 34%. Airline revenues are down 45%. So far, the airlines have received about $2.5 billion of the $15 billion government bailout package. On Wall Street, investors took profits from yesterday's rally, and partly because of that, stocks closed lower today. The Dow lost nearly 37 points. The Nasdaq was off about 3.5.
It was my grandson's birthday. He just turned 3. We're going to move him out of his crib and buy him a big boy bed. I was on chemo then, and I was exhausted. I said to the doctor, I need help. I'm on a mission.
If you're a chemotherapy patient and feel tired and weak, you may be anemic. Ask your doctor about Procrit. Procrit is a natural way to regain red blood cells lost during chemotherapy. And more red blood cells can mean more strength.
Oh, this is a great one. This is a good one.
Procrit is proven and safe. In studies, only diarrhea and edema occurred more often with Procrit than placebo. Procrit is for patients with non-myeloid cancers.
How do you like it up here now?
Good. Call now and learn how Procrit can help you get back the strength you need.
See? What'd I tell you?
Your strength for living.
He takes a lot of energy, but I never get tired of him.
I quit.
I quit.
It's time to quit. Quit the cycle of irregularity with Metamucil Daily Fiber Therapy.
I quit for good. And you can too.
Metamucil Daily Fiber Therapy. Get regular, stay regular.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Vioxx, a prescription medicine available from your doctor. Or call 1-888-VIOXX22 for information. Vioxx.
I feel like it's crazy here. My family always eats in shifts. There's the twins first, home from school, then there's soccer practice. My daughter, Doreen, she's off to work. Then my husband comes home. He's always late. Thank goodness I found this new kind of dinner roll from Pillsbury.
From the freezer.
I just take out what I need, 2 or 10, throw them in the oven, and bake them up in minutes. It's perfect because I have everything ready whenever they decide to show up. Authentic home-baked classics.
In the freezer.
I don't know what I'd do without them.
If I had a man like Hefty.
If I had a man like Hefty,
he'd always be coming up with new ways to impress me.
Introducing Hefty the Gripper, the first kitchen bag with a stretch and grip top so it hugs the can and won't slip.
Oh, and he'd know how to hold on tight.
Then he wouldn't cave under pressure. Nothing's made like the Gripper. It stretches, grips, and stays put so it can take it like a man.
And when I'm done with him, ciao, baby.
Bye-bye. So long.
The Gripper, new from Hefty, the strong, dependable type.
America's war on 2 fronts. At home, the anthrax attacks. Overseas, a new kind of war brings growing unrest. Details tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Israel's Prime Minister Ariel Sharon today rejected President Bush's demands that Israeli troops and tanks withdraw from Palestinian towns in the West Bank. Israeli forces traded fire with Palestinian gunmen in Bethlehem and other towns, and Palestinians blamed Israel for a car explosion that killed a man identified as a bomb maker for the militant group Hamas. In dramatic contrast to the Middle East, peace actually seems possible again tonight in another of the world's perennial trouble spots, Northern Ireland. The Irish Republican Army, the IRA, said today it has begun disarming. But CBS's Mark Phillips reports it is likely to take some time for the IRA to put down all its arms.
The IRA has had and has used perhaps the biggest underground arsenal in the world. More than 1,000 rifles, more than 500 handguns, 1 million rounds of ammunition, some captured over the years. Not to mention 3 tons of explosives, often used to deadly effect. Although it's been observing a ceasefire lately, the IRA has not given up so much as a bullet until today.
We are a long way from finishing our journey, but a very significant milestone has been passed.
The IRA's guns have been its source of power and its symbol. It's begun to give them up only under intense pressure, not least from American backers who've rejected the idea of armed struggle since the terrorist attacks on the U.S. Today's arms decommissioning gives a peace process that was in real danger of collapse new life.
Well, I think the war is over, and I don't think that the IRA is ever going to say that.
No one here, not the British government, not the Irish government, not the IRA itself, is under any illusions. Without the events of September 11th, this would not have happened. On that day, Irish-American support for the IRA collapsed, along with the Twin Towers. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
And there's more of the CBS Evening News straight ahead, so stay here with us.
This weekend, Enterprise Rent-A-Car announces special low rates from just $9.99 a day. Friday till Monday from just $9.99 a day. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
1-800-RENT-A-CAR.
C. Move. Beat. The future of vitamin C is here. Ester C, a patented non-acidic vitamin C that supports your immune system and the health of your eyes, joints, and cardiovascular system. Don't settle for less. Ester C, your body will know the difference.
29, 30, 30.
Now at Red Lobster, you can get 30 mouth-watering shrimp for just $9.99. Red Lobster, go overboard.
6 weeks before one of the biggest games of my life, I felt a strange pain in my chest. What my doctor found was my toughest opponent yet. 3 of my arteries were more than 90% blocked. After recovering from surgery, lowering my high cholesterol became more important than football. Later, I was fortunate enough to coach my team in the biggest game of the season. That's the kind of play we need. Along with a healthy diet and regular exercise, taking Zocor every day helped significantly lower my total cholesterol.
Zocor is a prescription medication and is not right for everyone, including women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant, or people with liver problems. Your doctor may do blood tests to check for liver problems. Because serious side effects can result, tell your doctor about any muscle pain or weakness you experience while on Zocor and about any medicines you are taking.
When diet and exercise are not enough, talk to your doctor about Zocor. Take care of yourself. It's your future. Be there.
When that pastrami on ride catches up with me, heartburn big time. My passenger says, here, take a Zantac 75. I say, what are you, a doctor? And he says, yeah.
Zantac 75, the heartburn relief doctors trust.
Pepperidge Farm Texas Toast.
Okay, I'll get the pasta bowl.
Hot, crusty garlic toast. Just 5 minutes to make. It's probably ready before you are. Pepperidge Farm. Never have an ordinary day.
Deadly anthrax found at the Mail Center for the White House, and the Pentagon says Taliban soldiers are hiding in the cities. The latest at the top of the hour.
In our CBS Evening News in notes, Russian investigators today inspected the hulk of the nuclear submarine Kursk, raised more than a year after unexplained explosions sent it and 118 men to the bottom. If all goes well, NASA's unmanned Odyssey spacecraft will drop into Mars orbit later tonight. It will map some of the makeup of the red planet and look for signs of water. And in London today, an Olympic official worried about the war on terror questioned whether the Winter Games should open in Salt Lake City next February as planned. A concerned International Olympic Committee answered swiftly, the Games will go on. And that's part of our world tonight. We invite you to join us again tomorrow for the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online at keyword CBS News.
America.